Hello everyone and welcome to this new video, a slightly special video because it's the last video where you'll see my face. Let me reassure you, Car Jager continues, but you won't see my face on the videos anymore. You will only hear my voice with 2 new videos each week, as always. So some will say, well, it's not a big deal because anyway, we don't care about his face, and you would be quite right. And for those who wonder why, well, simply because a few weeks ago, I launched another channel called Vintage Drivers, where we do outdoor car tests with the cars, we talk about automotive history, we do somewhat intelligent challenges. And since on this channel you see my face, well, I didn't want to be seen everywhere. So a choice had to be made. Car Jager continues, stating that he will keep making new videos every week, but viewers will only hear his voice and no longer see his face. And for those who want to join me on Vintage Drivers, well, don't hesitate. I put the link just below. You can also come and join me on Octane. That's car news, a video every day, well, when I'm not too tired. And I also invite you to come and join me on Instagram because it's very important. I don't know why, but it's very important. Anyway, I'm putting all the links just below. Today we're discussing the Renault 16 because it's a good car. Back in 1955, when Pierre Dreyfus took control of the Renault company. He's not an engineer, but he's a lawyer, and he brings with him a new vision of the company, putting people at the center more than the technique. And he will breathe new life into Renault by attracting young talents, especially from various backgrounds. And in 1958, aware of the failure of the frigate, then the top of the range at Renault, and eager to launch a vehicle capable of consolidating the manufacturer's positions in the United States in particular, Dreyfus gives the green light for the study of Project 114. The brief is simple: a luxury car, 6 windows, primarily intended to appeal to an American clientele. And with such a specification, the proposals from the study department will naturally lean towards a 3-box sedan, with a front inline 6-cylinder engine and classic and statutory propulsion. But the direction that Project 114 is taking does not really please the dynamic president of Renault, who will sign its death warrant in February 1961. But for all that, Dreyfus has not given up on a high-end Renault, quite the contrary, but his disruptive spirit pushes him to explore other horizons. He then asks his teams to imagine a completely different car, an innovative car, a car they themselves would like to have, thus giving total freedom to designers and engineers who were just waiting for that. In fact, what Dreyfus is looking for is to go against the competition and propose something totally new. And the successful launch of the Renault 4 gives ideas to Renault. Why not adapt the concept into a larger, more prestigious version? Less like a van in short, and more efficient. So the idea is to offer the public a car that is both high-end and an innovative family car. And to create this new model, the engineers and designers from Renault will simply apply the recipes for designing a low-end car to a high-end car. And so begins the adventure of Project 115. There's just one tiny problem. Renault has lost a lot of time with Project 114. And Dreyfus asks his teams to manage to make up for the lost time, and the team will find the solutions to shorten the deadlines. On one hand, they are going to recover everything that was possible to recover from Project 114, to shorten the study periods. For example, the 600-line engine made for Project 114 will have 2 cylinders removed to create a 4-cylinder aluminum engine. But above all, they are going to revolutionize car design by carrying out both studies and engineering at the same time. And at the time, it was totally unprecedented. This method would then be adopted by all manufacturers. So it's towards a completely new model that Renault is heading. Front-wheel drive, front mid-engine, 2-box design with a 5th door at the back, the service door, which we will later call a hatch. The result seems obvious today as this bodywork style has become commonplace. But at the time, however, it was a real revolution and a bold gamble, and no one knew how the clientele would react, especially since the clientele was rather pro-classicism. The car has independent wheels, discs at the front and drums at the rear. It has, like the Renault 4, a transverse torsion bar at the rear and longitudinal at the front, which gives it a rather surprising asymmetric wheelbase. Like the Renault 4, the wheelbase length differed on the left and right sides. Inside, the car adapts to the new demands of users, whether they are from the city, the fields, or the suburbs. This unknown land, which at the time has nothing to do with the one we know today. No less than 6 layout possibilities are offered, making it the first modular car, a real car to live in. The very particular design, but today so familiar after all, of the Renault 16 will be the work of Gaston Juchet. It will be launched in 1965, just 4 years after the launch of Project 115, a record time instead of the usual 6 years. The Renault 16 will take some time to establish itself, as it innovates in many ways. But this novelty that is the Renault 16 is not the only one in the pipeline, because to accompany the move-up market and fill the existing gap between the compact Renault 8 and the new large R16, Renault imagines a 10, admittedly a bit makeshift, but perfect for making the transition. It will also allow to recover the conservatives and other enthusiasts of rear-wheel drive and rear engine, while the 16 would satisfy what we call today early adopters. People who bought Tesla Model S in 2013 were the same ones who bought Renault 16s. We also had the Rambler, which continues to be produced in dribs and drabs, while Renault is thinking with Peugeot about an even higher-end sedan, the H Project with a 5.8 engine. But this latter will never see the light of day, each going their own way with more modest ambitions that will give birth to the Renault 30 for one, and the Peugeot 604 for the other. But little by little, the R16 will take a special place in the hearts of the French, offering a real alternative to its rival, the Peugeot 404, much more classic in design. And the 16 quickly establishes itself as an excellent car, pleasant and comfortable. It will also be elected Car of the Year 1966, ahead of the Rolls-Royce Silver Shadow. Excuse my understatement, but it was only in 1973 that the most upscale version of the 16, the famous TX, appeared. Imagine centralized door locking, electric windows at the front. All these little extras that make the difference, especially at the time. And under the hood, there is a 1.6-liter engine that develops 93 horsepower, all for a weight of 1,060 kilograms. So it seems like nothing today, but at the time it was a lot. Especially since you could make the car even more premium with options like leather seats, a sunroof, or even air conditioning. Yes, sir, air conditioning. In a Renault 16 during the 1970s.
How does the window go down?
So that's electric too. How fast does your machine go? 165 chronos. And what's that for? Defrosting the rear window.
And that's the control for the Fariols.
Helene, it has Yoni headlights. Helene, the grand waters at the evening in Versailles. Card reader. It even has reverse lights. Helen, he got ripped off.
The car came to the boat.
She awaits you at your Renault dealer or agent.
And so the revolutionary Renault 16 lasted more than 15 years in the catalog. Its longevity allows it to reach a total of 1,851,502 copies, but above all to impose a new concept signed by Renault for many years, the 20, the 30, but also the 25. Then the Safran will continue in the path of a large sedan with rags, even if they lose a little in modularity. And this modularity, we will find it especially in the futurist space. Because if the concept was brought by Matra, after the refusal of a Peugeot Société Anonyme and too much difficulty, it is indeed Renault that imposed the layout of the minivan, inspired by its good old R16. So we can talk about a fundamental car for Renault, laying the foundations for the coming 60 years, in addition to being an unprecedented commercial success for the brand at this level of range. So today, it is obviously the TX that is the most sought after and the most desirable. But count a good 10,000 euros to get your hands on it. That said, it's almost the price of a Citroën Ami. Thank you all for following this new video. Let me know in the comments if you too thought that the Renault 16 was ultimately a pretty ordinary car. In fact, it's quite revolutionary. Also, let me know if you have any ideas for cars whose history you'd like to know. Don't forget to join me on the Vintage Drivers channel for anyone who wants to see my face. Even for those who don't want to see it, you can still join me. And for those who want to keep up with automotive news from a slightly different and not totally serious angle, also come to the Octane channel. I put all the links just below anyway. The Instagram account as well, on which I share a lot of stuff with you. Thank you all anyway for being so many to follow this channel and then all the others. And then I'll see you next time. Bye.